Okay.
Devin, can we switch spots?
Sure.
Do you mind just because you got the hat? It's kind of beating down on my head a little bit.
So what did you see here yesterday morning, Devin?
Yesterday morning was really cool. I saw a lot of what's the word? Intention. And I saw a lot of people like here. In the morning, it was definitely a lot of the artists getting ready and bringing what they had to offer to the show.
Were there different kinds of intention that you saw?
Yeah, there's definitely differences. Everyone was different, but it was just a really open social environment. That's what I first saw. It was really interesting. Meaning, like, there wasn't like what I call like small talk, where people were here with their stuff and they were talking about what they brought.
So it wasn't like gossip and talking about the weather and everything was very weighty.
Yeah, and immediately as soon as you come in.
Interesting. Do you think some of that had to do with? I imagine that some of that had to do with it, because it seemed like a lot of it sounded like a lot of Laura supported came, like friends and maybe family.
Yeah, that was more towards like later afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So were they just were they people that kind of came in? Did you recognize them, or both you guys? You feel like they just kind of came off the street a little bit?
In the beginning, no, I didn't know many people, but I think a lot of them with an artistic background in the beginning. I think a lot of the friends were friends of Michael. And
do you think that's because they, on the surface, they understood about it in some way, or because they're invited?
I think it was because they were invited and they had just as much, like I said before, of an intention to find like a certain social space.
Were there different kinds of intention that you saw, or was it all the same thing?
Different kinds, but same, I guess, level of motivation or like level of interest.
Yeah. How did things change as the morning turned into the afternoon?
As the morning turned into the afternoon, I think there actually were a lot more people who weren't sure about what was going on when they came in here.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really nice, actually.
What kind of signals did they give it? Like, I'm interested. Like, what made you think that? Did they just not talk, or did they kind of like look pensively and not really engage anybody and just kind of hang around a little bit and then leave? Because like that's kind of that's what the type of viewer that would make me think of, like somebody that came in and maybe didn't see their friends right away.
Yeah.
And then kind of like looked at the art a little bit and quietly.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot more of that. There was not necessarily, I guess, like you said, like looking for your friends. Like I can tell that a lot of the people who came were supporting the artists involved, and some maybe weren't even explained like fully what was going on. It was just a support, and that was really those are the things I enjoyed the most. Actually, they came in not knowing what to expect, and I think a lot of them actually were pleasantly surprised in a way.
Were there certain
That's nice to hear.
pieces that were interacted with? Were there certain elements that were more interactive or got the audience's attention more than others? Were there stronger? Which pieces were the most interactive? Would you feel like?
Was it Whitney? Yeah, her juice piece was the most interactive.
That's Vicky.
Victoria.
Vicky.
Yeah.
Vicky. Her piece was extremely successful, I think, in terms of bringing participation.
Victoria Tao. I'm a Santa. So.
What was happening in her work?
In her work, there was an element of like I think grassroots production in a sense that I feel people really were captivated by.
You were here most of the morning, and she was here most of the morning, and she came with the intention to be here for 12 hours.
Mhm.
And she brought her TV and had the the Chinese soap operas going.
Mhm.
And but you got to see a lot of the initial, like, just her being here, having the energy of early in the day, people coming in,
Yeah.
seeing it for the first time. So those interactions with people, they were just like, did you get to overhear some of the conversations? Did you hear some? I feel like I heard some people that had, I feel like they had not real much. They didn't really. They're just kind of on the lark and Mark show, but they were talking to her
Yeah, I heard some.
and made some alcohol.
Well, there's something really nice about her explanation because that's what like each of us, especially the participatory work, like when a viewer comes in and sees it, they had a question. It's like, okay, what's going on here? Because it's really
What's going on here?
open ended, and her explanation was short and simple and sweet in a sense, but there was something really that it like tapped into that everyone could enjoy. And I think it had to do with the fruit and like having to find your own food in a sense.
The process.
The process.
So
of
people were in.
Mhm.
It was the process that people found most interesting.
Yeah.
I saw people throughout the day just kind of grabbing the fruit picker and just kind of picking fruit, like literally, like just for their own consumption and enjoyment. Like I didn't see anybody with like bags loading anything up, which whatever. Like I think that's cool. But yeah. But I like that people have that sort of freedom as well. It made me kind of wish I had written on it.
Why were you interested in writing on the oranges?
Well, because I thought that I figured that when people came, that they would just kind of end up picking oranges, like just as part of the day, like the thing that they would do. Like it kind of instinctively have this idea that that would be like a really good way to kind of like plant art evidence for an interaction with the audience that they weren't suspecting.
I can see that it could have been a collaboration with Laura because hers was about messages, and so it's like you could have culled all the messages that people would send to the refugees, written them all over the oranges. That way, when the people who were working with Vicky were picking the oranges to make the juice, these messages would come down to be written on.
I mean, that's a really amazing.
That's like a way that it has an aleatoric nature. It has the collaborative, and it's organic because
that's a Michael Haight synthesis right there.
synesthesia is beautiful.
No, synthesis and a narrative. Like you put those two elements together and like created a pretty badass piece. Like I accept it.
Then we have to do it again.
Convince her to do it.
Well, we just have to do it again. So
because I was thinking more about like having messages that were kind of in line with maybe some of the themes and thoughts that I was having with the sculptures that I was making.
Can you share some of those?
Involving text. Yeah, like there was a couple of just words. I mean, this was a good process for me involved with text because some of it I really started I was focused on length, like writing itself and words and the power that they have over me personally and how I feel about them and how I use them. They used to write them and so like MC, so like on my own, just for my own enjoyment. Like since I was a kid, I've always rapped and freestyle, and I do that, and then I record stuff. But so I spent time thinking about the meaning of words and the values, in more of a poetic sense. And so like one thing that I kept coming back to is like democracies open. That was kind of like a weird thing. Democracies open.
Okay, and that's something that you put on the.
It was one small thing, like, but there's a million of things that could go on with oranges, right? It's not just one thing.
And they would all have this.
It's this idea of planting, of inserting, just getting it out there. It is kind of like political advertising in a way, if I wanted to, I could put vote for Hillary on everything, or vote for Trump on everything, or that I don't know that I was really interested more in sort of trying to find words that worked poetically with the situation. For years is interesting when working that. I see with that kind of makes me. There's no way we could have done it because we have time to meet with just the anyway.
Yeah, scheduling's definitely an issue.
I got a little carried away right now with ganja. I got over it. I lost the emotion.
Okay, you're fine. You're just trying to talk about messages.
It's a lot to talk about.
You brought up
because we're just taking it all in right now. This is the post-mortem the day after. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I noticed a motif though. There was a motif, and it was the message. Yeah, language synonymous.
Messages. I would say there was a symbolic, spiritual message with the dragonfly piece. That was one. You have Steve. Kind of because I was like, it's a.
That's it up.
It was nice seeing him.
Yeah, dude. Did you hear? I think that okay. So I wanted to ask you about what you thought about the morning to afternoon. So you came up in the afternoon.
Is Steve Aoki not a real person? Did I get his last name? He said, wait, but why are you like? I like
So anyway, Chrissy's Spell Laboratory was a set within the set. That's another thing too. The settings that were created, each artist like Whitney had that bowling alley face painting for the birthday party feel, but it was super deep, and Christy transformed it into. I
loved Whitney's set. I loved I got to see her do the last person who she posted it. And it was really cool. That's a dope piece. You should do that all the time.
Damn, dude.
It is.
It's there's a. He's one of those people that likes space. Everybody knows people that like space. But he's a connoisseur.
Well, I did want to. Does Vicky have
Yeah.
So there was that humor in her piece. I mean, it was a performance too.
Yeah.
I didn't really get to talk with her about that. The outhouses that she made were gorgeous.
Miranda was very skillful. Yeah. I think that if I could do it all again, I would have had a separate camera person for each artist, because there was so much about each setting that each artist created. Laura with her alcove between the trees, Vicky's tarp and tables for the swap meet shop kind of feel, Whitney's
station. She had a station.
Well, because of that couch that she was on, it felt like a bowling alley, and she set it up kind of like how a caricature artist would do it. It was very it had that aesthetic, and it like fit in with.
She looked great, by the way. Shout out to Whitney.
and like with Christie's like
Christy
the
looked great,
aura that she brings with all the artifacts, the as she says, the
There was this
campy as fuck
performance.
kind of. Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt, but
The campy as fuckness.
well, no, but that was the campiness.
Say it like it's Latin.
Campy as fuckness.
The campy as fuckness, like it's a surgical term. Like
Yeah.
if you're dissecting the campy as fuckness, I'm Christy Berkowitz.
They're
Robert.
all three of them. They're just like this was the most honed in with the performance, and
Why aren't you being neutral specific right now?
I'm not because I care about their performance, and I want to give them some critical my critical feedback.
But you're segregating.
No, I'm not. Hold on, let me finish.
All right, can I finish? Rock it.
Okay. So like there was a performance aspect to all of them, and I feel like Whitney's happened to just like boom, like it just felt the most comfortable. With talking to Christy, like her set was amazing. She started with the, she like she had a couple different like sermons, kind of not sermons, but like Native American chant.
Yeah.
And she could everywhere and put kind of sense to it.
Yeah, the blessing ritual.
Yeah.
Right.
So she had a couple other things, and then she went into her set. But it was the first time she put music in her set.
Mhm.
When we did the Spell app, we didn't do that before.
Right.
And so how it was kind of set up, like that little booth, like how you were talking with Whitney exactly.
She had like the clientele that would come and sit with her, and
She
yeah,
was bringing in
she-
a performance quality of her, because she makes music too.
yeah,
But it was like she was aware that she was conflating all three of those things kind of at that moment for the first time. And then it brought up with her outfits. I was like, hey, you're like a hyper, or there's Cindy Sherman. It's like if Cindy Sherman's poses came alive, and then it was like this like, but Cindy Sherman was also a DJ and a witch, and
yeah.
a social activist.
And it comes
and
back.
a
To, yeah, it comes back to them all making this kind of intimate space, bringing
that's
it into
interesting.
the sphere, because it's it's anti-gallery. There
Do you
are
guys
no
want some
walls.
oranges?
Okay, you want some orange?
You found
Dude,
it
Mike,
anti-gallery?
that's an amazing observation.
So like
They went to the intimate space.
so like yeah, they there was a creation of like aesthetic vestibules, and they had each these intimate atmospheres that were able to be perceived. And it comes back to setting up the different cameras, because each was extremely narrative, and it had this disassociation with even being in a backyard setting, that this intimate act that these people were doing with the accoutrement they brought could be transported to that space that they wished for it to be at, and it would be completely camouflaged because it would be homogenous. So I think that all of them, in respects to that nature, were successful because the authenticity, I think, going back to what you were talking about with the intention, their intention was their intention was for authenticity. Their intention were authentic, and that was
Well,
extremely strong.
Authenticity in the sense, for me, of interactions with the audience. And I like that the interactions that they had with the audience was authentic. Like when I heard the people talking to them in their interactions, like I felt like, and that was something also that I got to see when you were doing the thing because of Coffee Shane and the interviews. But they also, there was all three of them, very strong sociological aspects to their work, like that they're exploring and reaching different demographics.
Should we call one of them right now and ask them if they'd like to speak to those?
Yeah, I don't know. You got
Which one
anybody
do you
on
think we should call?
I'd like to talk to Whitney just
Yeah.
because I didn't
I was
really
gonna
get
say
to talk to her that day. Yesterday.
We're gonna get Whitney Hanlon on the speakerphone.
I agree with what you're saying in terms of authentic conversation with you.
Well, let me just really quick then. So like sociological.
Just tell her in a voicemail.
I have nothing to say. I don't know.
The context of
I'm just gonna say,
do it.
I don't get a message.
Say what you're creating intimate vestibules. Aesthetic
started off.
vestibules. Hey Whitney, we were just calling during the postmortem. We brought up your work and the intimate vestibule, the aesthetic vestibules of intimacy that you created, and we were wondering if you could talk about that with us and kind of share in the postmortem.
Just mainly to talk about, I guess, how you were able to create authentic, intimate situations with individuals.
Yeah,
And
that's what it
and
was. Your intentions were extremely authentic.
as a strategy for social practice.
In life.
Yeah, we're celebrating you and applauding you. Cool.
Social practice. So, all three of their engagements.
Definitely.
But one of the biggest issues with social practice that I was aware of, at least in the last 10 years, and probably maybe longer, but I just, is that there's this type of continentalism that kind of was coming with the way that people were trying to do these social interventions, where they were kind of displacing, people who you go to a certain community or a certain location, and those voices are getting displaced by your plan for their voices, and they're not actually having a voice. So, the different people they've been working on developing those strategies, and I think that all three of these are like very good examples of like ways to begin to sort of implement those strategies in artists in Los Angeles, like right now. And I don't know, I feel pretty dope that like they were all here together. We got to see all, and Laura included, all four of them. Because Laura's also has this sociological aspect and an activism to it, embedded in the work.
Yeah. So you feel like there's an activism.
There's an activism.
Was there anything activated for you yesterday?
Like what do you
Well, let's think about that word, activism. I'm thinking about it as activation. Was there any other kind of activism, or was there anything activated within you yesterday?
doing the lawn, like having the pieces on the lawn in the front?
Yeah, there was
there was no way around that being just and I thought about how it could be interpreted in different ways. Like one way it could be interpreted, would be in a very negative way. Would be like a racist saying there's shit on my lawn, saying there's shit in the neighborhood, and that somebody could fucking maybe read that interpretation into it because of experiences that they had on their own and no interaction or experience with anybody in this house or the event, even though it was only for a day. I kind of, I sort of realized that something like that, because they don't know who put it up, they don't know who lives in the house,
they don't,
but they could feel that way maybe. But there's also other very funny and very healing ways to read it too. So, but that also all of those things.
Okay, so then healing. The title of the show is Buddha Therapist. We kind of touched upon the therapy of like Vicky's, and, the kind of social. I think speaking about those vestibules, like that kind of social practice kind of thing. Like I think the therapeutic part for me was the communal kind of aspects, the different people kind of creating a community because they're getting to know one another. Like Whitney's like the personal questions, the kind of for two people that are strangers to share something like that is to make them community. So they're like together. And for those that see these times as very, you know, and everyone being very shut off, that's a beneficial thing. People coming that are strangers together and sharing this unique moment that in some ways is as simple as it's just a conversation piece.
Like, to further that though, like I definitely felt the therapy with Whitney's piece, and I definitely felt the therapy.
Like you when you guys
personally.
right now, yeah, when you guys
Personally.
are talking about therapy, you mean like what you personally?
I personally felt a healing. I like that word better. A healing with Whitney's and Vicky's piece. The moment that she started, Whitney, she started throwing paint on the transparencies. When she says, "I'm gonna have a conversation with you, and I'm just gonna start throwing paint." It was like a really nerve-wracking moment. And like once it happened, it was like that angst was all released, and like we're like kind of putting faces down and having a conversation and like allowing that action. It was almost like allowing a judgment to happen, but like making her. She was letting you know, like, are you okay with it? Like, are you okay with this? Because it's gonna happen, and we're just gonna have a conversation. And realize that there is actually no judgment there, which was really, really helpful for me. And then the mere fact of like using cheesecloth, like there's so many different ways we're in the 21st century to like juice, but like forcing like people to participate in a way where they're really getting their hands down and dirty in order to make something with another person. Not only make something for themselves, but make something for another person. Like I found that to be a really healing communal action. You know, just giving someone an opportunity to make something for you, and having someone being willing to do that too, like really creating that in that space. You know?
What was the radio station that I was asking you? You know what it was called? It's 90.7. 90.7.
KCRW.
KCRW. So they had a guy that I looked at yesterday, and he was talking about wealth and money and how to obtain it. And he teaches economics and theology, a couple of different. He was really interesting, and he was saying that how when he was illustrating how when people are governed by the profit motive, which is basically for them to succeed, just where your priorities to succeed with money, you know, and the way that you obtain it actually affects the wealth that you have. When you have compassion, like the best way to. Okay, so the easiest way for me to explain this quick is to say the best way to build a business is to basically give people, you have to build trust. And so you have to, number one, give them something of quality that they didn't ask for. Right? You provide them a service, you build trust because of honesty, and you take a type of risk before they get to know you on their behalf to build that trust. And that's the type of interaction you want to have. Not sort of dangling that carrot up to a point until your credit card swipes and then the product breaks. But he was talking about that in all aspects of life and tying it back to spiritual principles of just thinking about other people. And so when I'm hearing you talk about the therapy experience with that, with communal things, like it's making me wonder. I'm hearing that too, and I'm thinking like, oh yeah, those things you're saying have value to me as well, and perhaps the fact that it's affecting, we're perceiving it as important could mean that it is important because it's actually pointing to something larger in that culture that affects everyone, which is sort of really the power for me in therapy to reveal stuff about our world that reflects this truth. And like all these observations, like everything that you've been saying, like how you experience stuff, and I think that's really the value of the art. And I guess for me, that's the there's the transformation of the transformative process. Personally, I guess would be for me to those strategies kind of consciously to take like when Chrissy was talking about the difference between and like art as ritual, to have political change, it made a lot of sense because I've been thinking about, okay, how do I contextualize or compartmentalize 100 different performances or 100 different like little art pieces? It's really about how I'm contextualizing the narrative and bringing out things that are important to me. And sort of really what I realized is, okay, well, I don't want to be involved in sedition, but I am interested in ritualizing art practices that, like, capoeira, or, really they carry a type of militarized, progressive, passive activist message.
Brazilian capoeira?
Jiu-jitsu.
Capoeira. That's the
Capoeira.
dancing.
Yeah,
Yeah, prisoner dancing.
yeah. I'm sorry, it's not from
But so anyway, they bring
dance fighting.
Yeah.
It's fucking
right.
dope, too.
I understand what it is.
It's
But-
a yeah.
So, well, they do it in dance fighting, right? So dance fighting, and I think for me, dance fighting is like in the 80s and in the 90s, and so hip hop.
Yeah.
For me, are breakdancing.
Mhm.
But I was thinking about that. I think that's an ever-present force, and that's what hip hop is about. That's why I think the positive aspects of there are positive aspects of hip hop in our culture.
Of course.
That have happened because of hip hop. There's also totally fucking negative shit.
You mind elucidating on the
Just not the negative
positive
shit.
facts?
Yeah, the positive stuff. I mean,
Well, what's the point counterpoint? It's fine.
integration of ideas, of like people being able to exist with different ideas. And truly, hip hop, especially breakdancing specifically, is all about character. It's all about your skill. It's all about you are judged based on your skill. And within the context of hip hop, how was at the time we had different ethnicities of people that, if they weren't in the context of hip hop, would not be hanging out. They would have been like, they would have been rival gangs.
Yeah.
Right. Or rival ideologies. So, they came together based on skill. That's Martin Luther King's dream, right?
Mhm.
Is that or the context of it's synonymous for me with the content of character, sort of attributes. Is you're never a biter. You always strive for a type of individuality, which I think really, what it really is saying that you're going to strive to try to be the best that you can be. And if you have shortcomings, you're going to learn to adapt it within the context. And I think within the context of hip hop, it provided that you could be a star, somebody else could be a star, everybody has equal merit. I think a lot of that gets lost with the commodification of hip hop, because then it really becomes more about idol worship and a lot of the things
I think that goes into like what you're saying is like synonymous. You could spill hip hop with art. Like what this really felt like to me was the celebration of individuality, and how that, I think that is more than art, like the individuality and learning through this participation in each other's individual projects, that like it can enhance us all.
Why is individuality more important to you than the art? Because which begat which?
I think individuality is something that connects us all. I think art is a blanket term, and it doesn't have that much of a honed in definition. It has more, it kind of can let things get away from you in a sense. Or they can get commodified, as you're saying, and become like this thing that you idealize or idolize. Art is supposed to be this, because I was always taught that's what art is, in a sense. But individuality is a way that we can find ourselves and find us, like the connection between us all. Because
So the individual spirit is more valuable than the product of the individual spirit.
yes,
Okay.
And like that's very important.
And the individual spirit is what you saw here in the audience or in the
And the performers,
performers?
yeah, the performers let the individual spirit be part of their performance. It was what was the most authentic thing about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, from what I saw, most participators were healed, not necessarily healed, I guess, like felt a little bit better when they left this place.
So I'll kind of, if I may, I can like create a like context that I like to sometimes play with.
Yeah.
So in Christianity and Judaism, like there's one of the ways that like prophets or holy men or women would heal people was sometimes they had hand gestures that they would do in the Old Testament, and one of them, anyway, they would do like hand gestures and stuff. And I know this is in other religions. No, I don't know one specifically, but I mean basically the idea of my understanding is that they had individual communication with God, Yahweh, and God showed them specifically for one specific person a way to do something. Mm-hmm. And I mean, yeah, well, Jesus did a ton of them. He rubbed clay on people's eyes. Mm-hmm. He spit in clay and then rubbed it on people to end the video with their blindness. Other people would just command to stand, like so his words themselves would cause people to be healed in their faith. And so I guess, but you know, with respect, like to, I mean, just to, you know, not to trick and trample on people's beliefs at all, but just to respect it. At the same time, I think like art, for me, I like to see it. I sort of like, not saying that necessarily we're channeling God. Okay, so I'm not saying that we're having that same sanctified interaction that those holy people did or that Jesus did, right? Like, I'm not saying that we're having it, but I think that that pursuit for me, whatever I'm end up reflecting in the art, within the context of how many people we had here, every person's gesture, right, like their hand motion and gesture that they did had healing qualities for people that were around them, specific. But I think maybe it's the intention. Maybe it's highlighting the intention of, like or something. There's a friendly intention. Like, how would you communicate to a different tribe if you also knew that other tribes killed people and lived in the wilderness? Like, well, you could maybe erect like a pillar and like you could put skulls on it to scare people like away, but you could also like maybe make a pillar that had. Is there some type of universal symbol, set of symbols that you could put that would help people understand? Because that's just common.
To help people understand it,
To help
Like
invite
a signpost of peace?
Yeah, a signpost of peace.
yeah.
So a signpost of peace, or
Like directions, like
an invitation.
harmony was something that could be followed by a set of instructions.
An invitation to a conversation, like an open conversation, which is like kind of all back to this therapy.
You and Abramovich should have a little tay, or however you pronounce it, a t.
Oh yeah.
T to ta.
The T, no, dude, not recital T's.
You guys need to have a fucking rendezvous.
Yeah, but I think that's because of our commitment. I think the people that showed up and were participating. Who's that joint? Yeah, that'd be awesome. He was on this chair. It might maybe roll out grand.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
I'm gonna help you look.
let's forget about it. So, all right.
What about you, Mike? I mean, from the observing.
Yeah, you were
You got the
eagle eye
most,
in a sense.
you got the most of it, like everything, because you got to talk to everybody. You did most of the communication with people.
I guess.
I mean, I just wanted to know your guys's your big picture. Before I talk about that, what about like, what do you think if you had to do it again? Like, how could you improve upon like what you did? Like, do you think your did anybody climb onto your piece?
I did at one point,
Uh-huh.
but no one did, and I definitely think that could have been an improvement.
How would you? How it's thinking about like the atmosphere and the kind of the context that were created by the other artists.
That's where I didn't know.
How do you think you could take these ladders, like using the same material that you use, make something that is socially aware or has a social practice to it?
I think that.
Yeah, but I think that's social practice for social practice.
Well, I think that this had a social practice just merely by being in the
Yeah,
back.
therapy is social. I mean,
Well, just being in the backyard.
I'm surprised Sublime wasn't played, but anyway.
Yeah.
So, like, what else could you do with ladders? Not necessarily in a backyard, in any space. Just something you could do with ladders that was not only engaging for you, but also engaging for the audience. That was very participatory.
It would have to obstruct completely.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, like it would have to like take up the way that it's through, but have an avenue. Like it would have to be part of a space
fucking whale.
so much that you have to get through it.
So it would be an obstruction somewhere.
That's how I
That's
see
what
it.
you're okay.
As a social, affecting socially.
Affecting other people. Okay. So what do you think would be beneficial for the participant in that kind of an exchange with this work that you created as an obstruction?
Could I maybe like answer that with like my observation, like how I experience it? Please.
I don't know. It's his what?
I had an answer though.
What's that?
I'd like to hear your answer though. One second. Yeah, so I think it would cause the viewer to make decisions that they don't know why they're making, and I think that is crucial. Like having to deal with something unexpected can kind of reveal how you handle things that are.
Okay, so that's what you think about the people who successfully navigate this obstruction. But how do you as the artist, you set this thing up, and you see the people navigating it, and they might be having that therapeutic state. But what about those who come up to the wall that you created, and they can't pass through? They're frustrated, they're angry, they're on their way to work, they're late for something, and they're just pissed. Well, how do you feel about those people? How does that is that a resolution? And like
I mean, I feel that is kind of okay though. Like there's a sense of if that's what it pulls out of your day, like why did it pull that out of your day?
Okay. Can you put yourself in that person's shoes though? If you're coming along, you weren't an artist, you didn't have a creative bone in your body, and you come across this wall of ladders that are obstructing your view, and you're on your way to work, and if you don't get there in time, they're gonna slice your head off.
Yeah, I can put myself in that shoes, and I'd be pretty upset about it. But like, if you have something to blame your upsetness on, like, I guess that's good. Like, I don't know. Like that hypothetical kind of saddens me. It was just someone so. I guess.
So
This is
it's just like the thought experiment. So do you therefore, and did the design of that art object take into consideration that person? I had so many people say that when I'm making art, it should just be about the art itself, or like the Howard Rourke's. It is its own design. If you, how can you? Are you not supposed to? How can you take into consideration that person? Like if the intention is for a therapeutic action to occur, and you want 100%, you want it to be Six Sigma, then you have to take into account the people who might show up to it and become frustrated, obstructed literally, physically, and implement a new design.
But I think that then is informed also by, it depends where he's putting it. Like, if he, I would feel that if he placed it in, like, let's say, if he placed it right in front of a business plaza entry.
What if I place it right in front of the road, like the entrance to the road?
Context. It just would be like, dude, Devin got his piece from the road. He bought it. That's so good.
But if it's like Fight Club like terrorism on corporate,
big corporate building.
Yeah, if you put it in front and you obstruct corporate people from going to work, then that's different. Or like just the hustle and bustle.
Get some funding, and with a nice parking lot, get a crane, rent the crane, and have it pick up a piece like this or larger and hang it just between, the skyscrapers downtown for a couple hours. You got you had a show in downtown LA, solo show, 6 hours.
Well, I've been wanting to do I was trying to talk about the parking lot ones. I still want to do like parking lot spaces. They take over a grocery shopping parking lot. But hey, man, like, to add some flavor to it, though, I want to say, like, it was very therapeutic for me. I know it's kind of it feels like an old thing to have this type of, what's the word, nuance, nostalgia for the way that people romanticize about
Nostalgia
other
for
cultures.
some type of way.
No, nostalgia, it's okay. There is a type of nostalgia for, I don't know, 19th century, 18th century, or there's a type romanticization of like Eastern cultural beliefs.
Yeah,
that exists. It's pretty, and I'm finding that for me personally, I mean, I feel like I spent a lot of time in traditionally Western beliefs, and I do have a Western sort of belief. I don't see it as a Western belief, but I know the history of it is considered Western. But so for me, like looking at Eastern Coast, like the Chinese zodiac and the I Ching, and like talking about spirit animals, a lot of that came to me just through art. And so like the idea that you had to just do a dragonfly, and then the conversation that I had with you regarding just the animal itself was highly therapeutic for me, because it was also sort of this venting of wanting to acknowledge the significance of like maybe my own dreams, or really focus on like the periphery, like that things could exist. And then the message of the dragonfly, the symbolic meanings behind it.
Michael.
Let's walk around it. This is where they need to.
Just that disruption of the like Native American or Mesoamerican spirituality is a healthy exercise within the context of first world American culture. And I think it's important because it's a gateway, or it's like marijuana is a gateway drug, like maybe it's a gateway drug for people to start to think more about just their lives and the world. And so I think it's a very good injection.
Well, I mean, to go off of something Michael was saying about the hypothetical working man and social practice, like, does social practice have to be or satisfy 100% of the viewers?
The most perfect pure social practice if you had the most purified social practice in existence, You could probably, no, I'm saying this is what I think is the most purified social practice would be one that would eventually be able to be distilled down as almost like fucking booths, or you know how like evangelists go out, or there's like a street salesman, but it would be integrated into society in a way where it's like like soapbox preachers, like people that hop up in soapboxes in public places. It would be the same with art, but it would be integrated in a way to where people would understand when they come to that place the rituals and meaning involved with it. And it's almost like injecting a type of religion. It's like in using the pedagogy of sculpture to do it, and then the ritual around that to inject different types of thought, different types of perspectives on the world, that considering the context of where we live and how people are acculturated through our media, I think all those things are very important, even though they're very small. I know they're like, oh yeah, it's been done before, it's not important, but I think they're very meaningful.
But does a social practice need to satisfy 100% of the viewers?
If it could, then it would be booths, like it would be like little versions of Mecca in shopping plazas everywhere that people would understand.
Well,
It has one like.
Well, is there a purpose of? It's something that, if it's social practice work, be about social practice, for it to be designed to only be 10% effective.
I guess
I think
thinking
just
more social
to
construction then.
Yeah.
I think that's the.
I'm a little. I mean, I'm saying it doesn't matter. You can have as much intention to please 100% of the world as you want, but you won't. Like, you can't. Because of
not always
differences.
so.
Social practice is a term, and social practice is very meaningful, and the pursuit of it and the people that pursue it, it's very meaningful. And like, not dogging it, but I think it's important to be able to define things. And I think that how I imagine some people, the intention of the social practice is to actually like raise the consciousness of the community, empower community on its own to make decisions that help the community flourish, all by its own choices. That's the purest form of social practice. It's the community building itself, and it's somebody saying that there is some type of tool, maybe, or there's some type of avenue that somebody, an activist, and somebody to do that. Like, and that's very different than what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about social construction, which is like cell phone towers are social construction. Like cell phones are social. They create social construction. Like they create a way that we interact with an object within each other.
It's like infrastructure in a sense.
Yeah, like an invisible infrastructure. And an invisible ritual instead of principles and ways that we behave. And it informs us, and we inform it about how it's supposed to be.
So
but
then
I think
we have a question. So then it's like, how does this piece behind us, how does this inform the way people behave? Does it cause them to question any of their own behaviors?
I think so. I mean, one thing I really had an interesting conversation about was, and one thing I really love is the vocabulary of ladders. What is it when you see these ladders, or a ladder that like your mind goes to? What kind of overarching denomination does it take? It just like ladder, and then all the words that follow under it, almost in a way, And for me, like, having a conversation with someone and they couldn't get away from the working class because they kept seeing the ladders, and how that, no matter what I make, will always be there because of the material. Like,
and the straps
too. Yeah, like, I've just really chosen to kind of, that was an intention. That was something I wanted to bring into the object in order to talk about work itself, and like, what is it? What is work? Who is it for? Your work, my work, how are they different? You kind of bring these serious questions into play. And that,
So you feel like it has an activist message against the value of labor and the,
yeah, I definitely do think that.
or a socialist?
Not a Marxist or a socialist. I just want people to know why they're working.
Do you feel like there's a lot of people who work without, they don't understand the goal of their work? They don't feel.
I think one of the most dangerous things that's been created is the idea that I work to live.
Huh. Can you talk more about that?
It's people feeling not responsible for the work they do so that they can feel good and happy about the time they have off. It's like, but our work is what defines us. Like we are what we do.
Do you
The
feel like
climate-
that's prevalent across all cultures, or?
I think it's human, so I would like to think it's prevalent across all cultures. I mean,
That everyone is defined by the work they do? You're talking about like the work as in labor that pays for, that earns some money. That
I'm
earns
talking about action.
capital.
I'm talking about action. I'm not talking about money. Because you have to live and survive. But I think it's valuable to learn like your energy and learn what you're capable of and what your work is, and separate your interests from other people's interests, and just be an individual and understand like what is your individuality, and always work for that while working for others at the same time. Like you can't just let your work be taken advantage of. That's what I really have an issue with.
Read Ayn Rand, The Fountainhead? Oh, Howard Work would be your best friend. You should read that.
Ayn Rand?
Ayn Rand, it's called The Fountainhead.
I mean, for me, like it brings up, the questions that you're asking. They bring up, social practice and all, and the semantics, but also how in the art world and in the first art, our world and or in America, the art markets tend to trend towards things that people are into, and so, which is a good thing, especially for dissemination of information that's not culturally available to everybody. It is a very good place for that to happen. But with regards to artists themselves, like depending on how you pursue making art, like I like to think about, like I understand that it's totally different, the intention of sort of maybe the way I'm understanding Devin's pursuit of the work. I'm understanding his pursuit and the intention of it, and I feel that it's just as qualified as and important, and the messages in it have just as much agency or importance in our culture as somebody who is specifically invested in a type of social intervention. I suppose these maybe they house more, they're like teaching objects maybe for me, like the ideas house the objects, house the ideas. Important, especially in our culture, like with regards to generating a dialogue, a consciousness raising dialogue about issues that affect everybody. It's important when artists start doing that.
Can I just say that you look damn good in the hat?
Damn.
Thanks, man.
So now we finally come to consciousness raising.
Art is consciousness raising. I think people just like,
So-
from the moment you're a kid and from the moment that you make art, even later, you're raising your own consciousness. But I don't think people, if they're having an honest moment in making, I don't think people are trained to go back and investigate that moment and give value to it. I wasn't trained to do that. I trained myself to do that, and it's probably because of being interested in different things, and then also having other artists around me that were pursuing similar things to even come to that conclusion.
Then I have a question for you about your work, but one last thing to say, Devin. So then that really begs the question about these obstructions that you want to make with these materials that are meant to raise someone's consciousness about the work that they do. it's the context where you put them, where you build these obstructions, how you pick a neighborhood, working class neighborhood, a poor neighborhood versus a commercial area versus a neighborhood full of luxury homes. So, you know, we talked about, you know, thinking about the people who are going to be annoyed by that obstruction. What's the difference? Like, we got people who might be annoyed by the obstructions. What's the difference about their, you know, the cause of their annoyance? They each have the different, you know, their different routes that they're going on. And then, you know, these materials, what neighborhood is usually home to these materials?
I definitely see the industrial neighborhood, and like almost like these are the places where no one's allowed to live and everything is made, in a sense. You know, they make it there and they shoot it out to the tracks. They take it to where it needs to go, and it's about development. It's almost like the object before it was made, if that makes any sense. Like, where did it come from? It's getting down to the, like, I'm really interested in the whys. Why work? Why buildings? Why this, what's the word? Why this tract or this group or city and that class that comes with it versus that one? Like, why districting? Like, that's such...
Why segregating in the first place? That's nice.
And like, lines separate us. There's
as an obstruction. Why are these fucking ladders here? So Dave, what kind of consciousness do you think was raised by these things, these mountains?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't been had a chance to talk to them, like interview
Now you have a chance.
them about their experiences.
Could you call Ian right now and ask to talk to him?
No, I know he's doing something today. I'm going to talk to him next week. Well, I could speculate though, or at least on my intention.
Throw some speculation out there, if you don't mind.
So, what do I think people experienced when they saw them?
Yeah. Do you think they're like?
I don't know.
Potential?
I mean, honestly, I hold myself to very high standards. So there's certain things that I feel were kind of like I wasn't able to control certain things. Like, people would play with some of the foam and stuff.
People were definitely using the foam. They were picking it up, and like that heart got put all the way over there.
someone was using oranges to make a face on it.
Yeah, DiMaggio made this into a monkey, but then someone else stepped on it and then turned into nothing. Yeah, the vote. Oops.
The vote was a hit. I had a couple people
Yeah, there was a request for a sign like the Kippenberger Boys sign.
I think that's data. I think the fact that people played with these is empirical data that they responded to perhaps the color and the shape and the size because they look shitty, which is intentional. And so maybe it diffused.
Can you speak about that intention?
So just with regards to material and form and like the context of also the place shown, like where it needed to be shown in the backyard. They're all very diffused places. So it's kind of nice to me that people felt free to interact with some of the stuff on the ground, and it makes me think that the then had a type of, and the context had an inviting quality that made people like and relate to that too. I mean, there is definitely kind of a toy figure quality to them. There's a figurative quality to them. The individual pieces.
Yeah, why don't you just talk about that figurative quality? Because this one over here is definitely representational of a figurative nature. You're like,
well, I've been working. I could just say I've been working with Gwen.
I think Rodon would be a fan. So would Giacometti. Giacometti would definitely. Giacometti would jam with these. Jam hard on these.
Yeah.
Yo, why don't you talk about this one, Dave? Like, talk about the text that's in it.
Love, please love,
Please love and almost love.
police love. Yeah.
Please love, police love.
We were messing around with different texts like stupid, please love,
Mm-hmm.
love, please stupid. Yeah, so the text is generated from different words, and then the words are coming from like poetry or observations or isms, Dave-isms or Mike-isms,
Mm-hmm.
or people that are around isms, words and things. Yeah, I guess so. That's kind of a ritual then, or it's a way to pursue unfiltered information through a type of. So the initial process of generating the letters is, it's not automatic, but it's kind of a stream of consciousness process. And then I go back and highlight the things that have some significance, and then they all get crushed together for the most part into sort of jumbles. But the idea was that, I guess the real mystique of it for me is about shit kind of coming alive out of the ground. So, there's some things that I feel kind of like maybe betray it a little bit. Like right now, like I don't think that BRB is so believable. Like this might be a little too much. But I think there's like a patina that I can get, because I have gotten it where these things actually look kind of real. They've been believing that it's like miracle shit that kind of. The original ones were like poo sticks in the bottom of a latrine, and that poo had collected on the sticks for like 1,000 years, probably like that would be 1,000-year poo stick in India. Like there's 1,000-year-old outhouse that still exists somewhere in the world, and like that's
What kind of symbolism is working for you there?
The outhouse,
with this 1,000 years, the collection of detritus.
I think it's me using my imagination to teleport to a real place in the world that an object exists, that has existed. One is called art, but that does exist and maybe is. So it's a good source, untapped source material. Shit sticks and outhouses.
Why merge text with that?
The text I see is kind of emerging out of it. The shit and text and words.
Why choose?
All right, I'll submit myself to it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have all the answers yet. Yeah. No. Keep going.
Why choose to about? Because font. This starts to bring in like font type, and why emulate words in a font of shit?
A shit font. Yeah, that's pretty solid. It is a shit font.
Why were you writing? This is like not corpophagy, but what is it? Man, it's not eating shit, but it's writing with shit.
I think because a letter is letters.
Is it corpophagy? No, it's not.
Because letters are catalysts for people into criticality or meaning. Letters are symbolic catalysts in the meaning. And within the context of art or a painting or a sculpture, I think that's how they function. As long as somebody's written language or they have seen writing, and so I think it could reach a broad audience. Ideally, I wouldn't have everything just in English, but within the time and to like have it work, English was good for this. And so that one, please love. This one is be love. So just be love.
Context.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the idea of just doing a sculpture in somebody's backyard and having it.
So coming to intention, like.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, what do you experience? What did you guys experience?
How do you feel? How do you feel about viewers being put?
think that's interesting. I suppose if they're off put by it, I imagine that it's like when I'm at work and somebody comes in and I give them excellent service and they're just still like not happy because they got other stuff going on that doesn't have to do with me, that they can't access it. And I think then it becomes about they're not in a place to access the information. And then I am very interested in speculating or what it is, because I feel that those things that are roadblocks for people to get in this, at least people in the first world that live in America that look at politics and shit that can't access it. I feel that it's revealing a symptom in them of like something that hopefully it's not like a personal trauma, like something really bad that happened to them, but maybe as a corporate trauma, like of just growing up and living in, you know, the richest, most powerful military industrial complex. And
One thing I kept thinking about when I saw these pieces yesterday was how, like, Sigmund Freud brought up 3 ways of looking at something: the oral, the genital, and the anal. And these, like, for some reason, I've always felt like people don't want to talk about the anal, and these are purely anal. You know, like they just embody. And well, I guess that off-puttingness of it. Do you want to talk about the anal?
Do you want to talk about the anal?
yeah, dude, I want to talk about the anal.
What is the anal in our society today?
Yeah, the anal R words we're a nation of laws, and the way that the laws are interpreted, and who, you know, people that have spent either time in school or understand them, study them, that are lawyers, they're the ones that they make the choices that create the social constructs that govern our lives. And it's important for me to keep raising my own consciousness about that, because I feel like so much of my life, like, you know, when you were talking about working about your piece, like I feel that, you know, at the same time, America is the most richest and most dangerous with regards to like a working form of slavery that exists. I know that's like really extreme stuff. Like I hate everything that I said that came out that sounded really extreme. Like, I'm actually really skeptical about it. Like I'm kind of like, yeah, okay, I see where that leads. But, you know, like,
It's complacence.
not having a living wage, and people just have also one of the byproducts of having to work to live. Like what you're actually doing for your job is exactly that. That there's nobody making sure that whatever that is getting done right to protect other people, right? Just about the profit motive. So I see that as more of like an oppression type thing, like when maybe Pharaoh made the Israelites, you know, make twice as much bricks without straw. So they had to go out at night and gather straw to make the bricks. Like, well, why would someone do that? Well, you do that to keep people shut up so they don't change anything that should change things. These are working at my current job has really taught me stuff about like communicating, at least in that context with people. Like if I ask somebody, how can I help you? They can think that I just mean hurry up, like, and tell me what you need so I can get you out of here, which is good for someone in a hurry.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody else that just waited in line, that just wants a friendly face, if I say, how are you doing today? Before I say anything else, it always diffuses the situation. So like just, if you just say one simple line of phrasing, it totally changes the context of the situation. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we're not really having the conversations that would lead to abolish the lie of race in America, which it is a lie. There is no race except the human race. They've proved it in science. There's ethnicities and different cultures, and people have different genetic inside makeups, but as far as a species, there is none. And there's not another human species. It's all one human species. And so,
all right,
right? So I think the semantics, and people never really address that. Like, I think one stupid way that we perpetuate race is by saying the word race. But see, that is very problematic to want to try to talk to people, because I know people are fighting really hard, and those are the words that we're using to talk about things that are really important right now. And I think, so it doesn't matter about going back and changing it yet, but I think in the future, it will very much like matter the way that we talk about it. Because if we just talk about like, you know, I think of African American as an ethnicity. I still think it's an ethnicity, and it's different. So their experience is different than mine. I haven't had their experience, and it's important that and race is important to talk about. Like racism is important to talk about. So people that actually believe that I'm a different genetic race than you're a different genetic race. In the theory of evolution, it kind of wouldn't fucking matter if I killed you, because it really is a survival of the fittest. And that's where I think science too, like people need to chill out a little bit. But science is awesome, great to gather empirical data, but just because you know one thing doesn't mean you know fucking everything.
Science is on.
You even kill me?
No.
Okay.
Why would I do that?
Why would you even bring that up?
What science? I'm standing.
This is a hypothetical of killing someone?
Did I bring up killing something?
You looked in the camera and said, if I were to kill you, would it really matter to evolution on the evolutionary scale?
No, not you. Well, if you're a different species
the
than me,
royal you,
if you're a different species than me,
the
then
food
it is
chain, it's called resource and
the power of words, because they're defining. When I
yeah, and I'm getting offended.
When I say that you're a different species, I'm saying that you're a fucking butterfly. That's really what I'm saying.
Don't try and compliment me now.
I can kill a butterfly.
Anyway, so what's it?
To kill a butterfly,
So
right? In our culture, right? We don't have law. We don't have a Buddhist law in our culture, which I think it'd be good therapy. We get a lot. We get really far. We got all the
John,
technology
this is a nation of John Locke. Lock and key.
Locke.
Oh,
Locke
don't
key.
even. That's bad. So anyway, let's wrap
Is
it
his
up.
first name Michael too?
I don't know.
No, his
Maybe.
name's Ryan Lochte. Okay, so
What's your takeaway from all this? Just one phrase, a
From all
word or
this?
phrase that's your takeaway.
like support.
Support.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we came out here. We made this happen as a group, not alone. Like support is what we took.
It's more than that.
As much
How
more.
else does it apply to support?
Like supporting individuality and not commodity.
All right, David.
I think that's a great like that's
Word or phrase? What's your takeaway?
from this process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From all yesterday.
Process, trend, and transformation.
Procedural transformation.
Sure.
Dun, dun.
Procedural transformation. And
Group of therapists, BPM.
activism is art. Activism and art, but really just me turning. I just need to turn my weird craziness into rituals. That's really going to work for me.
Okay.
Because
Good.
you know
We'll
I can
see
have
that in the next round.
a million different things.
All right.
And then the context.
The
of
champion's
person.
coming out and he's taking off his gloves.
Yeah.
You're gonna see some procedural transformation, some ritual the next one.
So ritualized.
Thank you everyone.